Welcome to another episode.
Conversations with Coffees. It's been a minute.
Again.
Hot minute.
Been crazy busy. It's hard to get a routine, right?
For sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I really thought that we would have a lot more time, and maybe this is just a busy season, but
we don't have
there's
any
no
time.
time.
None.
Zero time.
So we're trying to make time for us is what we're doing today.
Yes.
So here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's been new?
Well, I had surgery.
Yep.
My final surgery.
Hopefully.
It's over, and I'm almost fully healed. Still on light duty,
Yep.
so to speak, at the farm, and just.
And that's a pain in the butt for you, isn't it?
Yes, I hate sitting around and not doing things that other people can do. It's super annoying, and just want to heal up faster and be able to work just as hard as everyone else around me. So.
I mean, she could be in, cast on both arms, doing this number, and she would still just want to go pick something up and then realize that, oh, I can't, I got cast. It's her mindset is just go help, go. Just
For
go,
sure.
just go do it. Which, I mean, that is us to a T.
Yeah.
Just get it done by any means necessary, but then stop and think about, well, I got two broke arms, guess I can't do that.
Right. But working hard definitely makes for shorter days.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Still counting down the days.
Yes. We're so ready to get traveling.
Yep. But we're starting to plan finally. We've of course been planning, but
just
map
nailing
out,
down some details.
Yeah, and then kind of mapping out
where exactly we're gonna go or going to stay and things we're gonna visit. Really exciting.
We're kind of going around and around, like, okay, do we stay 2 or 3 days at one location?
Or 3 or 4 when
right.
there's other things or more things to check out. So
like Tennessee, we know there's a ton to see in Tennessee, and we've been to Tennessee, like North Carolina.
We drove through Tennessee.
Right.
Actually stayed a couple of times, but not.
I think we've been all over Tennessee, from Memphis up to whatever the
Gatlinburg.
Well,
We've stayed there a couple
thinking
times.
like Knoxville and then Nashville.
Memphis.
Like we've been but now we want to take time to get there, settle down, go see what stuff we can see. But we're like, what do we do? 2-3 days in one location, go to the next, or stay for a week and move on to the next? Because we want to make ourselves over. We got to be in Missouri by a certain time, not date, but certain time.
Yeah.
Before Christmas, because we want
Right.
to see Christian and Haley be with Christian and Haley for Christmas. Cause
First time in like 4 years.
It's been 4 years, right?
This will be 4 years, yeah.
Yep.
So 3 years.
So
We're not going to make it 4, God willing.
Right, exactly. And we were trying to get there for Thanksgiving, but football rolled past the week of which we had to add a week to football.
Yes.
Some issues with uniforms and stuff like that. So
how's football going?
it's going good, really good.
Yeah. You seem more excited, more passionate, especially since the kids got the pads.
Yeah.
They're like actual football,
Right.
and not just conditioning
Not
and
just- yeah.
training. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like you can train them and just get them in conditioning, but they get to a certain point, and so do we as coaches, where it's like, okay, we gotta get some tackling in here. We gotta be able to hit each other.
Get those plays down.
And
for
just
sure.
just to make sure, or to see what we have and what we have to work with as far as skill level, and kids that may be a little more timid than others, and having to, thank goodness, I think there's 5 or 6 maybe coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is. Which I tend to gravitate towards the kids maybe that this is their first year, or they're just not quite confident in themselves. So I like to be able to help them to make sure they're comfortable by middle school ball, high school ball, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we've got this year we've got quite a few kids that have come up from the younger team. So
Yeah. So you're used to some of those kids. You've coached
Yep.
them a couple years now. So.
and then my expectations are they've always been every year. So I gotta make sure they're prepared. So
Yeah.
but loving it. boy 2 is doing phenomenal. So his hard work's been paying off this summer for sure.
Yeah.
He's got more muscle, more speed, stuff like that from the stuff he's been doing on the farm. So it's good to see.
And homeschool is going great.
Yeah.
Math is getting a little more difficult, so he is working through that and still trying to hone in on making sure that he's reading 30 minutes every day. And usually I give him time to himself, but the past couple times I have been noticing that he just makes these funny noises while he's reading, and for me it's like, you're not reading. Like, you can't read and make noises or whatever. You can't concentrate or focus. And he's like, yes, I got it. So,
well, that's how I used to do it too.
It's hard for me to understand how he's grasping anything that he's reading while making funny noises or
I was the same kid. Like, I would have to grab a pencil, I would tap, but that's how I was kind of keeping myself focused on what I was doing with background noise or something else that I was doing.
But I'm, giving him questions and trying to let him regurgitate what he's reading, and he is doing phenomenal. So, yeah.
It's in them DNA coffee genes.
Yeah. So homeschooling is going great. We're in week 6 now. So,
he's loving it.
He is.
We were talking to towards the end of practice yesterday. One of the kids was asking what high school he was going to go to, and that kind of walked itself into, where's he going to school right now? And I was like, he's homeschooled now. And I kind of looked at his dad like, are you kidding me, dude? Like,
don't talk about that right now.
And then I was like, yeah. And he's because we went out to the farm yesterday and did some work, and he was just like, oh, would Camden have half a day? And I'm like, no, he's homeschooled, man. He's done by 9:30, and he's just like, what?
Right.
So, and I was actually talking to the other coach, and I was like, it just goes to show you how much time at school.
The fluff that's added.
The fluff, exactly.
Yeah.
At school, it's like, I mean, he's done by 9:30, and of course that's one-on-one. And now, if you had 23 other kids in here, it would be a different story. It'd probably be closer to lunchtime before you were done or something like that. So, I mean, that's...
But you get to the subjects, and you do, a certain amount of work, a page or two, or whatever. I'm definitely incorporating reading 30 minutes every day on top of all his other assignments, and he's rocking it. We haven't incorporated art or anything like that, but definitely like physical activity. He does that the entire rest of the day, riding his bike or...
You got something planned for art?
Yeah, I mean, I want to do a couple projects, just, to keep him, just his mind to keep him creative. And not saying that he can't be creative in like a physical aspect or being out on the farm, they always make discoveries and, have quite the imagination.
Oh my gosh.
So that's really good for him.
These kids should have their own YouTube channel. They really, really should.
Yeah, they are a hoot. And
maybe for art you can just have to do like a voodoo doll or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh my word. I wasn't thinking that kind of art, but
okay.
He has another teacher, so maybe we'll get that in there.
Well, that being said, what do we want to talk about today?
Making excuses.
For your kids, for yourselves, for just making excuses. In general.
I mean, I have noticed that quite a bit lately, and it's not a new problem, but it is definitely evolving.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Evolving and honestly getting worse.
It's sick is what it is.
I mean, I feel like if we don't talk about this and if we don't get it out there, then I feel like people are just gonna keep doing what they're doing.
No one could ever be wrong. There's always an excuse.
Right, and we are no exception by any means. But
what you mean?
We're no exception by any means. But just like making excuses for your children, like the fight happened because so and so started it, or so and so made the first punch or whatever. Okay. Well,
and that's usually that always is followed up with, I teach my kid if their hands are ever put on them to defend themselves. Me too.
Right. We do too.
I've had that conversation with his principal a couple of years ago. I was like, well, you know, but the way I explained it to both kids, actually, both boys, was don't lay hands first, but you better be, you know, you better be taking care of yourself.
Right. Don't go around and, you know, get punched in the face over and over and just sit there and cry about it.
But
obviously, but
if there's a problem that has been, if it's a series of issues with, you know, one kid, well, I've always told them, make sure you tell me and your mom first. Make sure you tell your teachers, your principal. If teacher's not listening, you need to tell your principal. We'll talk to them, and if the problem happens, that way it's noted. They know. And I think one of those situations where he did exactly that, that some kid was messing with him, and he came home. He's like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to do anything. But I'm telling you right now, if this is not taken care of, I don't know what else to do. He's just inside with anger because he can't do anything, because he knows he's going to get in trouble if he did. So, you know, we did what we had to do. We told whoever, you know, all the way up to the principal, and, you know, the kid decided to put hands on him, and the one kid ended up being suspended after, you know, they got to talking to all the kids and teachers and stuff like that. The one kid ended up being suspended, and, you know, ours didn't, just because he did everything
well. He followed protocol, and, you know, he tried to resolve it on his own as his little mind, you know, would allow, but just circumstances continue to happen and escalate, so he took care of it.
Now, one of the situations, you know, for like the fighting, there's this people that we know of, and talking to some of the kids. This kid's like a really, really big troublemaker, and he got into a fight, and it was one of those where the parents had to be contacted from one of the things that he was doing outside of school, and that turned into, well, he didn't do anything wrong. Somebody slapped him on the back of the neck, so he punched him in the face, and then decided to hit him. Talking to them, started kind of bragging. Well, and then that turned into him getting 7 licks in, and the kid's on the ground crying, you know, and it's like
you're condoning this behavior. You're
from a slap on the neck. I'm
right. I mean, that clearly could have been an accident, you know, just somebody behind you fooling around, you know, and not that it made it okay, but at the same time, that clearly could have been an accident. Like you didn't have to turn around and punch him in his face.
But they're explaining this while their kid is standing right there, and I'm like, yes.
So not only are you condoning this behavior, but
you're gloating with him right there.
Right. And showing some sort of, you know, way that you're almost proud of them for doing those things. So as a kid, I'd be thinking, you know, let me do this again and make my parents even more proud.
Right.
Like, what? I mean, I just feel like sometimes people don't think things through, like the consequences or the things that can occur afterwards.
But my baby didn't do anything wrong. My baby didn't do nothing wrong. And to me, it's sick.
Yeah, it really is.
Point blank.
Yeah. And, you know, you're supposed to model good behavior and do things that, you know, obviously you wouldn't want your kids to do. So why would you talk about those sorts of things, you know, in front of them, or, you know, even have a conversation like that in front of them?
But I mean, that just tells you too, it's passed down.
It definitely is, and that's another thing that I wanted
to up from home
to bring up. You know, making excuses. It isn't only the children these days.
No,
you know,
no.
and I feel like it's the children making excuses because they've seen that behavior from their parents or from adults in their life. And, you know, I've came across several people that, you know, like, say, whenever we first went to college, they were talking about, you know, I didn't grow up with parents that went to college. You know, I'm the first in my family, which is great by all means. But, you know, they were older, like me, and they were saying, you know, I never had the college tours. My parents never took me on college tours. We never discussed college. There was definitely no savings for college, those kinds of things. And, those are, excuses. But at the same time, they looked at those excuses on the, vicious cycle and was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take off this wheel and continue to go and do better for myself. And not only do better for themselves, but, as older adults, in your 20s and 30s and even 40s, at that point you may have kids, and showing those kids that you are going to persevere regardless of your past circumstances is a great thing, in my opinion. And, maybe whenever your kids are growing up, you can take them on college tours, or explain to them how to get scholarships or even apply for scholarships. And if you don't know, then look it up.
Yep.
Just change those generational cycles that you have been involved in and fix it so your kids don't do that, so you don't continue to do that. I think that's really important, and we all as a whole need to stop making excuses for bad behavior, for bad choices. And
well, why do you think it is that, well, no one wants to just take ownership of their screw up? I mean, it's to the point.
Of their flaws, of
right.
their, even misconceptions, And I love the Maya Angelou quote about how you do what you have to do until you know better, and then you do better. Something like that. I'm not very good at quotes, but
right.
I do love that one, because whenever you do know better, you should try to do better.
Right.
And I love that. So
but I'm like, what happened to just taking ownership and saying, okay, I messed up.
Right.
What is so hard about
saying I'm sorry, or saying,
or
oh,
just,
my bad.
Oh, dang, I didn't, no, you're right. I'm wrong. Like,
yeah.
If you know me,
no, you go ahead.
If you know me, when my kids are in trouble because of something that they were supposed to do or whatever, before they get their tongue lashing from me, or just me just correcting their behavior, the first thing they have to say out of their mouths are, "I'm sorry, you were right and I was wrong."
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to teach my kids to constantly say I'm sorry. Like, I don't want that. There is a line. Believe me, there is.
Yeah.
I want my boys to walk around this as they get older. I want them to walk around with confidence. I don't want them to have to,
constantly apologize
constantly
for
and
whatever.
And I've worked with people. I've trained people. I've been in charge of people, supervise them, that constantly walk around and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, do you not have confidence? Like,
right. Why are you sorry?
Like, well, I mean, and it would be just stupid stuff that they would apologize for. And I'm like, it's all right, man. Just have some confidence in yourself. Like, I have more confidence in you than you do. Like, I know you didn't mean to do that. And and that's a prime example. The other day, one of the kids during practice just missed the block, started bawling because he knew what his assignment was, and it happens all the time. That's football. But missed the block, and then he just started crying. And I walked up to him, and I'm like, I don't have to say anything to you. I was like, he wasn't crying like I want my mommy. He was crying because he was angry with himself. And I was like, I walked up to him, and I was like, I don't need to say anything to you. I said, you clearly have enough passion, and you want this bad enough that it bothers you that bad to where you're frustrated with yourself. I was like, you already learned from your mistake right there. I was like, go back to the back and let's do it again. That's one of those teaching tools. But that's one of the first things I made our boys like, you were right. I'm sorry. You were right. I was wrong. And I think there probably needs to be a little more of that.
Yeah.
Out there for them to
just owning your mistake,
owning up to your freaking mistakes.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like in a marriage sometimes that's hard, pride kind of thing. And the whole I'm sorry thing, I definitely went through a phase where I was apologizing to everyone for everything. And it was a period of time in my life that I wasn't super confident, and, not necessarily that I was sorry that I didn't get to the dishes and the laundry and putting sheets back on the bed. It was just I was exhausted and I couldn't do it all. But in my brain, in my mind, I expected myself to do all those things. And so I would apologize, for dinner not being ready, right at a certain time. My time that I put in my head, not anything that my husband expected or my kids. They are more than willing to fend for themselves, whenever they need to. And not that I expected, or not that he expected our bed to be made on sheet day whenever he came home.
How do I care about it? I got to sleep in the thing anyway. That's how I look at it.
Right. But it was my expectations of myself. So I was apologizing out loud to everyone for my own expectations. So sometimes you just got to hone in on those and make sure that, they're not unrealistic. And at the time, I didn't think that they were unrealistic. But looking back, clearly they were, because I kept apologizing for myself, So, I feel like maybe you're making excuses in your head, or having those expectations.
And that's got
in your
everything
head.
to do with you battling yourself.
Yes.
I mean,
and, a lot of people right now are struggling, within themselves, and they don't necessarily want to chat about it or even ask for help. Because
you got some people that want to chat for 45 minutes after a football practice.
True. You're either one end or the other. There's no in the middle, I guess.
Come on, let me just drink a beer.
I'm working on being in the middle.
I just want to drink a beer. It's 9 o'clock at night, Bill.
We don't need to discuss this again.
Ooh.
So, if you're out there and you are making excuses for yourself or somebody else, please just take a step back and maybe, figure out how you can fix it, how you can do better, and then teach someone else to do better. And not necessarily judge them, not at all. But if you can give them a helping hand, or
that's the other issue too, is no one. That's actually a really good episode of trying to get people to. What were we talking about? Squirrel.
Judging.
I told y'all. Judging others, of why no one wants to say or step up and say, hey, you thought about doing it this way, or what you're doing is wrong, because they're just afraid I'm going to offend the person.
Well, because we're easily offended in
we
America.
are
definitely, and definitely during this time, it seems like, if you say, the wrong thing, you're definitely going to get. It's by design. Yeah, you're going to get yelled at, or you're going to get backlash, or,
Because I think the higher powers that be, let's call them that, when they work for us, but I think all of that is designed to create the chaos so that we don't have these conversations with each other.
Yeah.
When they shut this.
I know. I feel like I got sucked into his squirrel moment. So,
sorry,
thank y'all for tuning in.
Let me finish that thought.
Okay,
that's a good thought. So I think shutting the country down and doing what we had to do was a way for people to stop communicating with each other.
Even more so.
And I think
than typically was taking place. And
I know there's going to be some people that don't agree with me, but the fact that it always ends up happening where there's where you tune into the media during September, late September, October, beginning of November, you'll always see either a riot will break out or shutdown of the entire country, something of that nature. And I think all that stuff is designed for a reason. If they're not talking to each other in summer into the election months, then they don't want people to conversate. And when they do want them to conversate, they want them just to sit there and beat each other up.
Yeah.
So it creates chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all by design, but
Right.
as you can see, she does not care.
Well, I don't like getting sucked into the politics. I like to, read and do my own research about the issues that I find, and then make my own choice. I don't like being persuaded one way or the other.
No, but I like to bring it to people's attention because they're probably like, oh,
yeah,
actually, what you're saying does make sense.
And it's not that
never
I don't
thought about it like that.
Right. It's not that I don't listen to you or value your opinion.
But I'm
you
not.
know I do.
Right, and I'm not saying here only hang on my word. No, like form your own freaking opinion. That's another problem. Where too many sheeps out there. Be a lion. Form your own damn opinion. Like
yes.
it's easy.
It is fine. You are an American citizen, and
exactly.
That's your right.
We have that right to do that, and God has given us the ability to think for our dang selves.
And we live in a country where you're still allowed to do that.
Right
so
now.
Take advantage.
Kind of.
Okay, we need to hop off this soapbox of politics because he gets very passionate.
See?
Yes. So if you like this episode or found any value in it, please
did you find value in it?
Like, share, or subscribe.
Subscribe. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Deuces.